Hey everyone, this is Wei, and thanks for joining me here once again. For this drawing video, I'm going to be drawing a male torso, and I'm going to show you some of the ways that you can, draw and shade something like this and actually make it look and feel organic, so that we can actually feel the muscular tone on this torso. So let's get started, and I'll talk about the process along the way. All right, so let's draw this torso. So to begin with these kind of sketches, let's just plot in some of the points. With life drawing and these kind of figure drawing, we got to do it a little bit differently, and that is to start drawing in not just the basic, reference points, but really trying to keep things round, okay? And because it's very organic, your body. So like I'm just gonna start off with the bicep at the shoulder area, and then we're gonna come down to the arm, the upper arm. Okay, let me move this over a little bit. Okay, and then the arms right here. Let's go back to this side. Here is the back, the shoulder blades. Okay, I'm just roughing in some shape. Here, and here is. I wish I knew more anatomy, but I don't know a lot of body parts, but it's okay because I'm just gonna. What's important is to learn how to sketch these and not necessarily how to, name all the parts. You can probably do that later on if you get really serious about figure drawing. It is kind of nice to know the name of the parts, the muscular parts. But for now, since I don't know, I'm just gonna keep everything very simple. All right, so when we draw this, you can see, try to keep it very loose and very organic, meaning don't hit it with hard lines, and just kind of keep it a little bit rounder. So like now that I kind of have something roughed in, right, now I can start defining the shape a little bit and start shading. And now for this one, it's not too difficult, right? If you look at it just kind of like from the side. All right, so now I am using a 4B graphite pencil. Okay, so I'm just gonna sketch in this part right here. This to me is like, right where the armpit is, almost the center focus for this thing. So I'm gonna sketch it in like this. And then when I shade, now here's kind of what I really want to talk about, is the shading part. Now, I know this thing goes straight down like that, right? But I'm not gonna go this way. I'm actually gonna try to go this way. And the reason is, I want to show you the direction of the muscle, like how it's wrapping around, right? Like you see this muscle right here wrapping behind this. Okay, the back right here is wrapping this way, and it's actually very important to draw in these lines because they're almost like contour lines, right, to the surface of the body. So you kind of know, like here, I'm just gonna go up this way, as opposed to going like this, because I know there's a line here, but I'm just gonna go in this way. And that way you can kind of feel the shape, and that's what is pretty important for figure drawing. So like here, okay, this is round right here, so I'm just gonna go with this kind of line direction on it. Okay, and then here, I'll go in here, this is kind of hard, this kind of wraps in, kind of like that. Okay, and then here, now there's not a lot of musculature here, this part is kind of dark. And then there's a little bit of reflective lighting because it's on the other side here. So we'll just do that. And then this one right here. So I'm trying to follow the direction of the musculature. So like here, there's a little bulge right here, right? And then there's a line. This is dark, it's sunken in. And then this one goes down. Okay. And then here is the abs. There's 1 and then 2, okay? So we want to shade it in like this. Just kind of keeping it the same direction. Okay, and then there's some more muscular details on the bottom here, going this way. All right, so now we have a little bit better, some of the reference points shaded in. Shoulder, okay, can we see that? Yeah. Then this, let's draw in this, the arm right here. This part is relatively dark. Now when you look at me seeing the shade, I'm very light, okay? I'm very light with my hand. And try to do that with, especially with a soft pencil. It works so well, you know. Just kind of keep it loose. Okay, here's the other elbow coming down. So actually, we're not going to concentrate too much on that because I want to shade more of this, which is really interesting. Okay, so I'm going to start hitting it a little bit harder. And with these kind of drawings, you can actually go, you know, don't draw like small little lines. Just go ahead and work it through. It's okay if it gets a little bit messy because the important thing is when you do these kind of big strokes, you're starting to see the full shape of it, right? Not necessarily just these contours, but you're starting to see the circular shapes, like how this thing is bulging, right? So I'm doing things like that. So like here, I'm doing things like this. And it's okay if it actually goes over a little bit because it just kind of helps visually for you to see the shapes a little bit better. Okay, so this is dark. Okay, so I'm gonna try to do it without going over the camera with my head. So I'm gonna tilt my hand this way because I want the strokes to be this way. Okay, so this wraps around here. We kind of have to get this. Now I'm gonna try to exaggerate the lighting here a little bit because it's actually pretty flat. You know, it's not the best lighting for life drawing, but it's okay. It's normally if you get lighting from the side or some kind of bounce lighting, is actually a lot more dramatic. You know, you can actually show a little bit more. But this one's okay. It's a little flat. I mean, it's probably a little bit easier to do, but probably the end result would not be as dramatic. All right, so I'm kind of exaggerating. So this thing wraps around. See, I'm just gonna draw these lines right here, so you can kind of see it wrapping. Okay, so you can see how this kind of stuff is starting to take shape. Okay. Here's darker. Now this right here is pretty dark. Here's the nipple right here. So let's start shading that. This part's a little bit darker. There's a little bit of detail there. So there's a lot of this wiggly kind of shading. Okay, this kind of shading. And if you do enough of it, it'll even things out. Okay. So I'm going to start shading. Here's the little bulge right there, right? So this is dark, and it's kind of dark all around it. And by making this area dark, that's why this thing bulges out. So if I do that, now this is pretty hard. So now if you look at my pencil tip, I think you can see it. You see how it is? It's almost like a wedge, right? And that happens normally, you know, with these kind of soft pencils, and I kind of want to show you it's actually pretty important. Yes, screw it over. So with this flat edge right here, notice if I do a stroke, you see how broad it is, right? So it's a really broad stroke. Now if I wanted to get a sharp, all I have to do is just sharper edge. All I have to do is just turn it a little bit, and now I have like a super fine line. Okay, so just by rotating, turning your pencil, you're getting a lot of variation on this. So, you know, it's important to know how your tip of the pencil is so that you know what you're getting. So if I want a hard edge right here, which on the reference there is, I'm gonna turn my pencil a little bit. That way I get a harder edge. And I'll push into it harder. At the same time trying to keep, you know, the muscular direction. Okay, and then here's the other one, and it's a little rim lighting it, bounce light from the back, so that's gonna be light. So, okay, that's how we get the hard edges. Just turn your pencil a little bit, like right here, the armpit is very dark. So I'm just gonna turn my pencil a little bit, okay? And then, now the arm, obviously is forward, right, in front of this, so I'm gonna draw in this line, turn my pencil a little bit, get a nice hard edge. Okay, and then now that I have this outline, now I can shade in because this part is all dark. Start shading in that, and that immediately pops out the upper arm, right? And here's darker. This wraps around. So wraps around like this. The top. Okay, the top is darker right on the edge. Okay, and that will create this whole bulge. Right now, you feel that it's bulging. This thing that is round. I'm gonna soften this up a little bit, and I'm still using the flat end because it's just quicker that way. And now I can shade it a little bit more. And on the bottom here is still a little bit darker. It's not, you know, this line right here is not as, if you make it too hard, then it becomes too flat, right? Now you're losing the shape because it is kind of like a cylindrical shape. So here's a little bulge. This is important. This is the tricep. So this sinks in. And then right here is dark. It's kind of flans out. That's why there's not a lot of variation in the shading right there. And then go all the way down to the elbow. And I'm going to exaggerate that. It's a little bit of a rim lighting down here, right? So if we exaggerate it, we make this part darker so that we have a little bit of rim lighting. Now all of a sudden this shape kind of comes alive, right? It feels more real. And that's why rim lighting is really important for life drawing. I wish there was more of it in this photo, but that's all we got. But you can always exaggerate it, and that's what artists usually do. You gotta exaggerate some of those parts. Okay, so now I'm gonna hit it harder. I'm gonna try to define the shape here a little bit. I know it's kind of hard to see on the reference because it is kind of flat, but we can actually go in and just sketch it in a little bit more. Give it a little bit more detail. All right, so this part is darker right on the edges right here with the corner. Okay, now we can go in make it a little bit darker, right? Because we're just kind of working in stages. This part. Then now I want a sharp edge, so I'm gonna turn my pencil. I'm gonna draw this line right here. And here's the other line. And here's the back. This is dark, and then this is flanting out. This area is kind of flat. Let me go in and draw a little bit more detail, clean it up a little bit. It's dark, darker here. Turn my pencil a little bit, get a little bit harder so I can redraw the nipple because kind of we lost it after a while. Come down, shade this. This is relatively flat, so we're gonna go. This is darker here, turning my pencil, getting a sharper edge. And then right here, there's actually some rim lighting, which is nice. Okay. A little bulge down here, the abs going straight down. And this line right here, whatever you call that muscle, go down this way. So, you know, I'll be doing a lot more of these life drawing because they're actually a lot of fun. I mean, it's something I really love doing. I remember life drawing was one of my favorite classes in college. It's always a lot of fun. Okay, so now I'm going in a little bit, just redefining the areas a little bit better. So when you're drawing this, you know how messy this is, right? It's okay, you know, or it's, you know, let's say your placement of the muscle is wrong, it's not going according to reference, you know, seriously, don't worry about that too much. Just go ahead and shade it. I mean, even though if it becomes obvious later on that, you know, you got, you know, the placement of things wrong, just keep going, you know. The important thing is to shade it, to learn how to shade like this, you know, nice and soft, and going with the contour of the body. Okay. Just darken this a little bit more. So I think we're almost there. I might push this a little bit more, but you kind of get the idea. And now I'm just gonna turn my pencil and just maybe add in a little bit more texturing. Just kind of give it a little bit more style and make it look like there's more detail than there really is. Just kind of evening things out so that it's not so flat. And at this stage of the drawing, I know it's kind of messy, but you know, the more you do it, the more you're looking at the drawing, and then the more subtleties you're gonna see, and then that's when you you know, you can go in and redefine certain areas a little bit better. But normally, you know, you won't see those unless you've, you know, pushed forward more. You know, you hit the major parts first, and then you're gonna start seeing the little details more and more. And that's how it goes. So don't get discouraged at the beginning. That's just, rarely does it happen immediately. Okay, so here's the final drawing, and I just added a little bit more detail, and mostly I just added the dark background. That way it can really pop out the figure for this drawing. So, you know, hope you like this, and if you do, please do give me a thumbs up. Just give it a shot, see how it goes, and I will see you next time.